Good afternoon, Barbadians. I wanted to do something unusual today. We have one of our very own visiting us this week, Tyrone Mings. Tyrone is a proud Barbadian descendant. You may know him from Aston Villa, you may know him from British football. I want to know him not just from those, but also as a proud Barbadian. And he has come home for a few days again. He's been here before a few times. And I wanted him to start to share with especially young Barbadians. We do a lot of press conferences and a lot of press briefings, and we do it for mainly adults who are interested in hardcore items. But I felt that it was important now for us to start to talk to our young people who have aspirations. As I move through the school system, I would say that 1 in every 4 young boys and probably 1 in every 6 or 7 young girls tell you about wanting to be a professional athlete, and in particular, football or cricket. And I felt, therefore, that hearing you speak about your experiences, it wasn't a straight line for you. I'm very impressed by your resilience, your persistence, your focus, and I felt that what could be the greatest gift that you could give to the young people of Barbados? And quite frankly, it's just sharing your story. Tyrone. And with us, I also have the new Minister of Sports, Dwight Sutherland, the Honourable Dwight Sutherland. And I've asked him to come because he is the one who's going to be on the front line most days for us, making sure that you can get your dreams to be the best that you can be. And as we've always said, sportsmen and artists are global citizens. I've not heard many people complain about difficulties in getting work permits for sportsmen and artists to do what they have to do the world over. So I hope that this conversation and these opportunities can inspire you, but also will allow Dwight and his ministry to be able to create the conditions that will make it easier for you to make yourself a very popular and a very efficient and competent sportsman, but more importantly, to bring honor and glory to the people from whom you come, Bajans. Tyrone.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. It's good to be here. The best thing I can do for the island as it is at the moment and within this conversation is just to probably share my story and share my experiences. I didn't grow up on the island, but I've been through a different path, an alternate path to get to where I am today. And my path started in academy football, so I feel like I was already in England. I had a pathway which I thought I was going to go down. I had a route which I thought was straightforward, I thought led to success. And that's quite often how the academy system is set up. It's set up to sell you a dream. It's set up to promise you the world. And if that doesn't go in the direction that you anticipated, you're very much cast aside, and there's very little opportunities elsewhere, which disappointed me, of course. I was at Southampton from the age of 7 to 16 and got to the age of 16 and was no longer deemed tall enough, actually. I sit here today at 6'5", tall enough.
Are you a 6'5"?
6'5". I mean, I was at 16, I was 5'8". I went back to school, back to sixth form. I was fortunate enough to get a sports scholarship to a school over in England, and 2 years later I left and I was 6'3". So I don't know what happened at the school. I don't know what they were feeding me, but it was a great period in my development, and it was one where I was away from the exposure of pressure in a professional setup. I wasn't exposed to that. I was kind of sheltered. And I guess my football journey really only started when I left school. I left school at 18, which is quite late. Most players that you see today in the Premier League or in professional football made their debuts at 16, 17 in the first team. So I was already a couple of years behind, and I just went out into the wide world and got a job and learnt the ropes about everything that is nothing to do with football. I mean, I had to write a CV, I had to get a job. I went and worked in field sales, out door-to-door selling. I worked in a pub, I worked as a mortgage advisor for 11 months. I worked as a labourer. all while playing football. So I know obviously that the setup over here and the football setup is very similar to the fact that you have to play football and also provide for your family. There are real problems that you face today, ones that can't be neglected. You can't just solely focus on football if you genuinely have families to feed. I would know all about that, but I think I couldn't see the end of the staircase. I couldn't see the end of the staircase when I took that first step into wanting to be a footballer. I just had to go out and hope that when the opportunity presented itself, I'd done everything I could to prepare that I would take the opportunity. And the opportunity came for me when I was playing lower league football. I was afforded the opportunity to go to Ipswich and try out. The manager was new into his job. The first team manager was very new into the job. They were rock bottom of the league, so far from safety that signing someone from 9 leagues below made no sense whatsoever. So the fact I even got the opportunity was strange. Right place, the right time, I guess. But you know, I'd prepared for it. I didn't know the opportunity was going to come, but I prepared for it, and I prepared by doing everything right. I prepared by eating well. I prepared by learning the game. I prepared by listening to people that had come before me. So when I went to have the trial, 60 minutes into the game, the manager pulled me off and said, "Yeah, I'll sign you." And I mean, life changed overnight, and you never know when those opportunities are going to come. I never knew that I was going to wake up on the Monday morning, go up to Ipswich, have a trial, and arrive back a professional footballer. So.
I think that's the point I want to pause at and for you to reinforce, because you said that you kept and made yourself ready for any eventuality. So you ate well, you learned all that you could about the game, and
I've done everything.
Everything that you can do.
Everything. So I played for my club team on the Saturday. I went to get physio on the Sunday, knowing full well that I had a trial on Monday. But had I have got that trial on Monday and neglected my nutrition or diet or sleep or just general well-being, even mental well-being, if I wasn't mentally in the right place to go and try out, there's no way my character would have been able to shine through. And I think that's genuinely what got me the contract. Mick McCarthy, who was a manager at the time, loves honest players, loves mature players. And I went there and I just gave it my all. And I think my character and my personality came through. And he's seen that I was somebody that could hold my own. He's seen that I was somebody that could mix it with current professionals. And I was just a mortgage advisor at the time. There was no reason for me to go there and excel. There was no reason for me to go there. On paper, if you looked at me against any other players, there was no reason that I would go there and make any form of impact.
And it's fair to say that all you needed was the chance.
Just a chance.
And look where you are today.
And look where I am today.
Share some of your achievements with Barbadians for me, please.
Well, I mean, my biggest achievement absolutely is making my debut for England. And going through my career, obviously signing my first contract, I took a pay cut. So this isn't a rags to riches story. This is a long time coming.
Say that again for people too, because very often people see only the glamour. But as Buju Banton says, them who see the glamour and the roses, the glamour and the glitter think is a bed of roses. And I think you need to expose the fact that it is not a bed of roses. It's hard work, it's discipline, it is talent, but there's a lot of hard work and discipline as well as sacrifice. And the fact that you took a pay cut to go and play professional football from what you were earning says that you had a dream and you were prepared to have and to sacrifice for that dream, correct?
Absolutely, it was all in the dream for me, and short-term gains of trying to go in and negotiate what they were offering me was nothing compared to the long-term satisfaction that I would have got from getting to where I am now. I mean, I look back at the contract that they gave me. It was nowhere near market rate for what I should have been earning. But that wasn't the important thing to me at the time. It was the chance. It was the fact that I could get in the building. I could build on my experience. I could learn more. I could play more. And ultimately, I could learn from better people. If I'm in an environment that breeds excellence, I'm only going to benefit from that. So yeah, it was a long time coming, and like I said, taking a pay cut was a real eye-opener for me. That was probably the first one where I realised that this isn't all it was cracked up to be. You see a lot of stories about players misspending or misplacing their wealth, and I was fortunate enough to take a slower route where I wasn't given too much too soon. I wasn't given anything really at the start. Everything I got, I worked for. So I feel like I don't appreciate it more, but I can live in the moment more, and I know what it took to get there. So if anybody ever took it away from me again, I'd know how to get there again. It wasn't an overnight success story. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't rags to riches. There had been a lot of setbacks, and my knee injury on my Premier League debut, 6 minutes into it, was the biggest of all.
I'd like you to repeat that. And now Bajans will better understand why I was so impressed with you that I felt that I wanted you to share your story with our young people, because yours has been a story of resilience and of triumphing over every adversity. Tell them about that first game, please.
Well, you talk about all your dreams coming true, and when we talk about me at the start of my journey, from signing that first contract to making my Premier League debut, we're talking about 4 years. So I'd been dreaming of this moment. I made my Premier League debut when I was 22. I've been dreaming about this moment for 22 years. My first word was ball. Football was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So to play in the Premier League and to eventually get to this stage where I've learnt enough and I have the skill set to go and compete. Yeah, 6 minutes into my debut, the ball was bouncing and there was a tackle, and I ruptured 2 ligaments in my knee. I mean, we've gone over the scars before, but I ruptured 2 ligaments in my knee, damaged the meniscus, and that was me for the season. So 15 months I was out in total. And
at the very beginning of the Premier League?
Very beginning, 6 minutes into it, and there was no guarantee that I would ever play in the Premier League again. The team could have got relegated and everything was taken out of my control. So to get back from that and to make my England debut 3-4 years later, shows that there really is no one path that you can take. And like I said, there were points in my injury rehabilitation where mental health was worse than my physical health, and you just have to find a way to get through it. You have to lean on people to get through it.
I'd like you to focus on that a little more, especially in this time of COVID, where mental wellness is presenting itself as a key challenge in this whole new environment within which we're functioning globally. And it would be interesting for youngsters to hear how you related to that determination that you would be doing all that you could to be mentally well.
Well, I fell into a bad place. I've spoke about that quite a lot. Yeah. I fell into a bad place when I had my knee injury, because not being in control is sometimes some of the most destabilizing periods you can have mentally, because everybody likes to be in control of their own destiny. Everybody likes to know that with every action there's a reaction, and if I do this, it hopefully will lead me to this. Unfortunately, I wasn't in that situation anymore. So mentally, I think I like to use the term mental fitness, because I don't think mental health is you're either healthy or you're not. I think it's a constant battle, and I think you have to be mentally fit to maintain that battle. Everybody goes through bad times or good times, and I'm talking throughout the period of the day, not just the week or months or years. And to have a resilience and to have some form of coping mechanism and to have some form of escape to help you deal with those things, whether it be COVID, football, personal relationships, I think just adds to that mental fitness. And I use a psychologist back in England who's been brilliant for me. We speak most weeks. We speak just before I go out onto the football pitch, and we go through a series of routines. And that mental fitness is, those little elements are all adding to the fitness that throughout the week, there's a lot of different things you have to face. Whether you're a prime minister, whether you're a sports minister, whether you're a professional footballer, whether you work in an office, whether you're a fisherman, everybody has their own problems. Yeah. And I think the better you can manage them, the
more effective you are.
The more effective you are in what you have to do. Yeah. I mean, my job is to play football, and I'm only judged in 90 minutes. I'm only judged on what I do on the pitch. So we have to find a way throughout the week to deal and overcome different problems. That's no different to anybody else. It's no different to whether you're a youngster, whether you're playing cricket, whether you're working in a normal job.
I think that the important point here is that there is no stigma associated with wanting to be both physically fit and mentally fit. And that's part and parcel of the equation. You know, we have a culture in the Caribbean that's very much for boys especially. Oh, don't cry, be a man, stand up, this. That tries to denude and to take away all of the natural emotions that human beings have in pursuit of an image that's not necessarily rooted in life and real times. And Dwight, I'd like you to come in here too, because very much on the ground, I think you would know the amount of young people that we see. They're frustrated by things that don't work out exactly for them. And very often we're telling them, don't give up yet, that, you know, start, that, you know, you can't let a high wind come and knock you down. I mean, look at you, 6 minutes into a game after working so hard. You finally get to the Premier League, knees hurt. And you've got to go through 15 months before you can make it again to being able to live that dream and eventually play for England. Yeah, right?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Let me say to you, Tyrone Mings, welcome home.
Thank you.
I will start with the caveat. I am a Man United fan prior to meeting you, but I want you to know that I'm now a Tyrone Mings fan.
Thank you.
So wherever you play, whether it's Aston Villa or whether it's Man United, I know you have your sight set on playing for Man U.
Thank you very
much.
much.
And I am wishing you all the best. But I am happy that I'm given this opportunity, Prime Minister, to share with the youth of Barbados, because what we see very often among our youth is the lack of determination, the mindset, the resilience, the willpower to achieve. We have some, I can argue that football is probably the most popular sport here, or cricket. We wouldn't want to get into that argument. I'm a cricketer. But I would say the majority of the youth, they're attracted to football, whether watching or playing. But we have, and I heard the Prime Minister mention it this morning, with respect to mental preparation and indeed fitness. And I would want you to share with the public, with the youth, the whole aspect of staying away from narcotics and drugs and alcohol as you prepare yourself for that international level. We have 6 years to the World Cup, and we will speak to you on preparing us for FIFA 2026. But I would like you to share with the youth why staying away from these drugs is so important in terms of building careers as sportsmen and also building out a sports industry in this country and leaving these shores to indeed earn a living from sport. So I would like you to share with us, because we had the conversation this morning, and it would be good for you to share with the public why we have to stay fit and why mental health is very important and why the use of drugs with sports can retard your progress. So share with us.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we spoke about my example of getting an opportunity to go and trial just overnight. I mean, I found out about it maybe 3 or 4 days before I was going up for the trial. And if I had done anything to jeopardize my lung capacity or fitness, then not only would I have not done myself justice, but I certainly wouldn't have succeeded at the trial. And the skills that sports can teach you in terms of determination and goal setting, you have to apply that to every single aspect of your life. I mean, I spoke about the fact that people only judge me for 90 minutes of what I do on the pitch, but what I do on the pitch is a direct result of how I live my life. And of course, when I was growing up, there were opportunities for me to drink or stay out late or do what my friends were doing. But I had a dream and I had to take responsibility for what I was doing at that time. And regardless of the people that were doing things that were perceived as cool at the time, that's their choice. I have no problem with that. But I had bigger dreams for myself, and I always knew that there was something out there for me, which I didn't know what it was at the time. I wanted to play football. I always knew that I wanted to play football, but I just wanted to know that if I never played football, it wouldn't have been through the want of trying, and it wouldn't have been through any self-sacrifice, or I would have done everything that I possibly could to give myself the best chance of succeeding. And I think having a Prime Minister like you and a Sports Minister like you, I think Barbadian kids at the moment are in a great place, and there will be opportunities that will afford them and will be available to them in the future. Perhaps that hasn't been before. But all I would say is you have to be ready when that opportunity comes, and you cannot make excuses, because at the ages we're talking, at 14, 15, 16, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. I had to take responsibility, and I'd like to think that I've gone on to reap the benefits of that in the future, and I still am now.
You know, the truth is, the real test for maturing and growing up is that every choice has a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to get people attuned to that fact. So hearing your story, I think, helps to reinforce that whole process. But tell us about some more of what you look forward to doing in the next few years, both in your own life in football with Barbados. Tell us some of your other dreams.
My dream, of course, is, I mean, in my football career, I would love to obviously play at the highest level for as long as possible. Aston Villa are in a really healthy place at the moment in terms of the finances of the club and the position we are in the country, in the league. So that's a really exciting project. I want to continue to play for England, of course. We have a national team coming up, a national team camp coming up, and I want to continue to get as many caps for England as possible. Everything I do off the pitch is just important to me as much as what I do on it, because I wasn't afforded certain opportunities when I was growing up, and I would love to think that if I can play a role in helping one person fulfill their potential, or reach whatever the level they wanted to reach, whether it's a Barbadian going off and playing in England or playing in Europe, or just becoming a better human being. I mean, I've been able to have so many different experiences, whether it be a state school, a private school, non-league, professionals, national, domestic teams I've played for, international. I just think I've lived so many things that if I could come over here and set something up over here, if we can work together and bring some form of academy over here to give the Barbadian children or aspiring sports stars, football players, an opportunity, then that would fill me with immense pride. And I mean, we spoke about the 2026 World Cup. There's no reason to say that shouldn't be a dream, that shouldn't be an achievable goal. But it has to be a nationwide collective. It has to be everybody pulling in the right direction. It has to be no stone being left unturned, whether it be nutrition, whether it be talent ID, whether it be using the right technology, whether it be rehabbing properly. There are so many different things that go into it to make the 90 minutes that you have as a team successful, that it's exciting.
And for the avoidance of doubt, we're talking about both men and women's
Absolutely.
football.
Absolutely.
The women will be 2027.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
Last year I had the opportunity to be able to be there at the opening of the women's football team World Cup football tournament. And I certainly look forward to that. I tell the story often that the first visitor that I met with as Prime Minister of Barbados after we swore in the cabinet is the Secretary General of FIFA. Mm-hmm. So I think that has kind of put football both in my past and my future. So I look forward to that. But you have a number of academies in the UK, don't you?
I do, yeah, which are for
men
and women.
Please tell us about it.
They're for men and women, boys and girls, and over in England we try and educate not only on what happens on the pitch but also what happens off of it. We try to create upstanding citizens within the community that also are good footballers. Football really isn't the be-all or end-all, whether you want to be a professional, whether you don't. If you get to make it, great. The percentages are very slim. That doesn't mean that it's not achievable. But what you're left with if you do or whether you don't play football, you have to be a role model in your community. You have to be a citizen that people want to be alike. And you have to be able to engage with other people. That's what makes you a good teammate. Football is a team game, unfortunately. As much as you want to be an individual, and your success ultimately is determined by how good you can function as a team. And of course, that exceeds past football, that exceeds into life. But yeah, over in England, we've got 7 different sites across 2 different cities, and our whole ethos is based around that. It's based around being great footballers, but also being great people, and not being under too much pressure from too young of an age, because it starts from 6 in England, and at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you're far too young to know what you want to do. You're far too young whether you know if you're going to play football or not. So if we can create better rounded individuals and more whole and complete people, then we're half the way there.
Yeah. Any other questions, right?
I would just want to say to Tyrone, and indeed I like the holistic approach. We have the Barbados Football Association, and we have a FIFA regional rep here, Caribbean and Latin America. And indeed we would want to partner with our very own to develop not just football, but to develop global citizens. Mm-hmm. And I am impressed not only with your footballing skills and your football techniques and your football, what I call profile, but I'm also impressed with the whole vision to work with the youth to create better human beings and global citizens, not only to function on a football field, but that you can take those life skills with you. And that is what I'm impressed with your academy. Could you tell us what a day or a week would be like in terms of those young kids coming to the academy, if it's just football or if it's life skills being taught? Could you tell us?
Yeah, I guess initially, over in England, it's not one or the other. So you don't have to leave your club team to come and train with us. They're evening sessions. So if over here it was either a centre of excellence based thing where we partnered with a school to try and get it included in a curriculum and try and get the extracurricular activities to be based more around wanting to be a footballer, that's one thing. But we would never want to take away from the academics. We would never want to take away from what people are already doing in terms of their schooling. I think sometimes that's a mistake that we make over in England, trying to funnel people down a footballing route too early. I mean, 13, 14, they're getting taken out of school for a day to try and hone their footballing skills. But then they get to 16 and they're turfed aside and they've lost a day of school for the last 3 or 4 years. So we wouldn't take away from what they're doing. It would just be a whole education program around really me talking from my experiences and feeding that through the coaches and feeding my passion into wanting to help on the ground level, feeding that into the kids and for aspirational footballers. Like I said, both men and women, people will want to know what it takes. People will want to know how to get there, and people will also want to know that there is an opportunity and there is a route. I think being drawn towards a goal is a lot more powerful than being pushed towards it. And if we can create opportunities and if we can educate you about the good and the bad, then I think people can make a more educated decision about whether they actually want to enter down that route or not. And if they don't, hopefully there'll be better people for it anyway.
How involved are the parents in the kids' football development and in the academy? How involved are the parents?
Yeah, so a big reason we set the academy up is because kids are exposed to a lot of pressure from a lot of different directions at really young ages. it's in football academies, it's almost sold as a dream that you go through the academy and you make your debut for the first team, and parents are sometimes sold that dream, and they then create too much pressure for the child to really thrive in an environment that is enjoyable. So we try and stay away from the parents being involved too much, because without being too disrespectful to the parents, if it was their job to coach the kids, then they would be coaches. So sometimes we have to leave the coaches to do the coaching job the same way I wouldn't want to tell any of you how to do your jobs. Yeah. And you have to, as a parent, I think I'm a parent myself, I think you have to just guide your child in whatever direction they want to go. Being too pushy or too tunnel vision or too narrow-minded is only may lead the kid to failure in the future, or feeling like a failure just because they didn't fulfill your dream. So we try and remove the parental element out of it. Of course we still have them involved, of course they would still be involved in the education of what it takes and in the education of nutrition, because if we're talking to aspirational footballers, everybody has to be included. The parents have to be included, but they just can't be too involved.
I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure you didn't come to Barbados to do all this talking. There are 2 points that I want to make very quickly. You know, I'm impressed, so impressed by youngsters like yourself, young people like yourselves and Rihanna, who take the best of the Barbadian spirit and merge it with the excellence that you're reflecting in your respective disciplines. So it's not just about the music or the sports or the business, but it's also about the values that underpin it. Mm-hmm. And to hear you speaking just now about developing the total person and the need for mental fitness, or to see Rihanna as she deals with including every shade in her makeup, or ensuring that every size is reached by her lingerie company, speaks to a level of inclusiveness, speaks to the importance of individuals and people-centered development. And those are the things that Barbadians feel strongly about. There is one thing that they don't know, and they may ask, well, how is Tyrone Mings a Bajan? Who's Mings? And those are the questions that they'll ask. Your great uncle was the Bishop of Barbados, Rufus Broom, correct? I say that to let people know that he's well anchored. Well anchored as a Bajan, so believe you me. But I really want to thank you. I want to encourage you. I know that you are in discussions with the Minister of Sports and the Ministry of Sports with respect to what you can do with an academy. We've had entities here like Brewster's Trust who've done a hell of a lot of work for us developmentally, along with the Barbados Football Association and FIFA. And if you can come and add to that mix and to create opportunities for young Barbadians that are not there, then my brother, you have done well by your country.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Thank you.
No,
Thanks for having me.
And thank Dwight for joining me for this conversation. And as Dwight quite correctly said, I suspect that you'll see a lot more Aston Villa fans around Barbados on a Saturday now.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrone.
Thank you, Dwight.